See what kind of headhunter we get. Hey guys, we're going to be watching two of the hardest boss fights together while I provide some voiceover commentary. So right now I'm about to attempt the Feared, and before we even start it, I recommend walking around and noting the locations of all the bosses. We want to make particular note of where Shaper and Elder pop out because we want to kill them immediately. Shaper and Elder are the closest thing to a DPS check in this fight because they progressively add more and more ground degen, which can make the fight really obnoxious the longer it goes on. The rest of the bosses, we can generally just dodge the mechanics and your DPS doesn't matter as much. So we got lucky and Shaper spawned out immediately, so we were able to focus him down. After Shaper and Elder, I would recommend focusing on Cortex, although that doesn't matter as much. If your Chaos Resist isn't capped, Chayula can also be a good target. So now that Shaper is dead, we have a late spawning Elder, which means we'll only have to deal with one of them at the same time, which is pretty nice. I'm doing this with around 3 to 15 million DPS depending on how my sparks bounce. So just keep that in mind as a baseline for what you're watching. Alright, this next fight is Aul the Crystal King, which is arguably either the hardest or the second hardest fight in the game. This is a fight where he doesn't have very many nasty mods, so it's going to be on the easier side. Now, when he says Otemba, he's going to shoot out these shield guys that charge at you. And the main thing to keep in mind is we don't want those shield guys to hit any of the cocoons surrounding the arena. As you can see, I was standing on the right-hand side trying to send them all in the same spot, but they still hit 2 of the cocoons. 2 of them is manageable, but if they hit more than that, the fight can get really hard in a later stage. Now when he says Zem Zamar, the ground will have little circles, and after a few seconds, the circles will pop and these spikes will come out, and those can one-shot you. So when he says that, that's an audio cue to like get off to the side and away from those ground effects. The spark build I've made is tanky enough that it can pretty much tank his attacks. And when he shoots that ring of projectiles, if you stand close enough, they will miss. So here I'm just sending these soldiers onto the 2 cocoons that are already broken because they're already broken, so you know, might as well just send them on that side. Everything is pretty straightforward so far. Now at half health, we get this adds phase, and it's not very dangerous, but in the top left, you'll see I have a darkness counter ticking up, and this can start to hurt once it gets high. So we can pop a flare every once in a while. And during this phase, you can't stand still because there are these little crystals that hone in on you. One's following me right now, and then they'll explode. So just be wary of those. Alright, the fight's half done. Now this is the turret phase, and as you can see, there are a bunch of broken cocoons, and those are also shooting as well as the turret. But thankfully, none of those soldiers charged on the left-hand side of the screen, so we can just kind of kite back and forth on the left-hand side. It's important for the rest of the fight to preserve the cocoons on the left, and just when he does this Otemba phase, we'll just stand on the right hand side. We're tanky enough to tank them anyways. That's pretty much all the mechanics. Now we just have to get him down. You can save your Vol Molten Shell for this phase if it gets a little dicey. Now I think this about wraps up this video. This fight is basically over. Spark definitely isn't meant to be a bosser, but as I've shown, with a respectable amount of investment, we can turn even a League Start Spark into a build that can do everything in the game. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are having fun on Spark, and I will see you guys in the next one.
I'm done.